Alright, so let's form this outline. First things first, I'm just going to double click here and I'm going to show you guys how to add a page number. So you click up here and then you do insert and then you go all the way down to here to page number and then you pick the one that is on the has the number in the top right corner. And then even though it says it's in the top right corner, it never goes there. So you just tab it all the way over and then type your last name. Oops, hello. And then type your last name, and obviously this is showing it in Arial, so you have to change it to Times New Roman again, and then, again, I don't know why it's doing it this way. And so by page 2, it should still have your last name, but then it'll also have a different page number. And then let's just do, first, actually, let's make sure this is double spaced as it's supposed to be. So Times New Roman, 12 size font, double spaced, just keep it in ELA format. And then and the teacher name is my name, so and then class name and period, and then the date, and then do that little middle thing, and so we can title this, and we'll just title this down at the Genie outline. Okay. And then once you hit enter, you can make that again. And so now we're going to put this in PowerPoint in outline format. So we're going to start with Roman numerals. So if you ever don't want to use numbers, which I recommend a lot of times to use Roman numerals for outlines, but it's again your decision how best you like to organize it. Though I do suggest using one of these, not just bullet points, because it organizes so much easier if there is something like this. So I'm going to use Roman numerals because that is how I learned in high school and how I did outlines in college afterwards. Some college professors and some high school teachers are a little more, you have to do it this way, especially professors, but most of the time they're like, just do an outline, make sure it's organized and readable, and they'll let you have at her. So I use Roman numerals to start it off. So introduction, and then I tab over. So you need a hook, then you need a kind of like a background, we'll call it, and then your thesis statement. And then I'm just gonna, and to do this, by the way, to make, you hit enter, and then you go to shift, and then tab, and that makes it go back to Roman numerals. Just a little fun trick that I picked up later on, and it makes your life so much easier. You don't even know how many years I did it the hard way, and it was just not worth it. So when I learned that little trick from a professor, I was very happy. So then body paragraphs, and for the most part you're going to have 3 body paragraphs, so I'm just going to do body 1, body 2, and body 3. And then your conclusion, which is going to be kind of summary of main points, and then a clincher statement, which is just a statement that kind of wraps everything all up without saying the end. So that is the typical outline. So let's actually just get into the thesis statement. I'm not going to get into the hook and the background and whatnot, because I want to focus today on thesis statement and then your supports, which are going to be in your body paragraphs. But also they're mentioned in your thesis statement, which is why sometimes thesis statements have to be more than one sentence. So we're going to start it off pretty simply. we're just going to use the thesis statement that goes with the theme, because themes can be argued a lot, or a lot of times short stories, poems, whatever, just like the theme activity that you guys have already done with the lion and the mouse story. A lot of you came up with the same theme, but a lot of you came up with different ones too that still work. So themes, one thing can have multiple themes, so it can be arguable, if you will. So we're just going to use the theme that we went over in the PowerPoint as the thesis statement, just to keep it simple and straightforward. So in the short story, italicized titles always, down at the D, the theme of keeping children safe from the troubles of the adult world are shown in trying to think of how to form this. So sorry if I'm pausing. I'm doing this on the run with you guys a little bit, just so that you can kind of see the brain processing. So the first one I would do is Boo Boo's game, or Boo Boo's pretending to be an admiral, then Boo Boo's gift of the keys, keychain, and then Boo Boo's avoidance, I guess we'll call it, of the topic of racism. Okay, so that gives me 3 supports that I can form 3 body paragraphs out of, and then it can also, and it also forms a nice thesis statement right there. So I'm just going to bold this because I like keeping these things separate, and these will be bolded too. Okay, so for body paragraphs, I'm not gonna go fully in how I would go super in depth with it, honestly, but I am gonna show you how to grab quotes to support these 3 things. So I'm sorry if you guys can hear footsteps. I'm in our computer room in the basement of my house, so room upstairs, people are kind of walking around. Anyway, so body paragraph. When I do the body paragraphs, I always just put what each of them from the thesis statement, each of the body paragraphs, which support I'm going to be using. So, Boo Boo pretending to be an admiral. Body paragraph 2, I'm going to use Boo Boo's. Oh, Boo Boo's. Notice I just put Boo Boo's gift of the keychain, and then Boo Boo's avoidance of the topic of racism. So, after I would do that, I would hit tab again, or enter again, and then tab over, just so that I know that I'm going in depth. And this is where I would put the quote, and then I would put how I'm going to support the quote. with analysis, but I'm just going to show you quotes today and how to format quotes and sort of text citations, just so that you guys know how to do the parentheses around the page number. So, Boo Boo's pretending to be an admiral. Obviously, I'm not going to do a full quote. I'm just going to do a little bit of a quote. So I'm going to bring up this. This is our highlighting from before. So I'm going to find the page where she's talking about being an admiral. So I'm just going to go use this just like the simple introduction for it. So, it is I, Boo Boo, said Vice Admiral Tannenbaum Knee Glass, come to inspect the sturmophores. Oops, sorry, wrong glass. So I'm just going to use that quote. And seeing as though it's a quote and within a quote, I'm going to use quotation marks to show that I'm using a quote from the book, and then I'm going to use just the little marking under the quote just to say that that's a quote that someone is saying. I know that's kind of confusing, but just follow along with me. Oops. Okay, so then I didn't put the period in here, even though that's there's a period in the quote itself, because when you're doing an in-text citation, you leave the period out so that you put the period after the page number, and then you put them in parentheses. And this page number is from 77. And seeing as though we're only using one book, we don't have to put the author's name, because usually you would put the author's name in the page number, but seeing as though we're only using one author, you don't have to do that. And then 77. And seeing as though we're also not using other articles to support this literary analysis, like a bigger literary analysis might do, again, we only need to put the page number. And then the period is after that. And then 2 is where I would put analyzing the quote and connecting it back to the thesis. So that's how I would do a quote. I'm not going to do a quote for all of these because we're running out of video time, but you get the idea of what I'm trying to say. So first you would introduce the quote, obviously, which we'll go into again later on this week, or next week actually, when we go into once you've chosen your stories. And I'll break down in separate videos kind of how to format your paper, and then I'll even bring this back up just to give you an idea of how to add that into your outline, and then into your, because sometimes an outline, I always find an outline so much easier, because if you break it down so much like I do, a lot of times you just have to add a sentence here and there, and then you can copy and paste the rest and put it in essay format, and then you're golden. So that's how I've always done it. It keeps me organized, and it makes sure that I'm hitting all the points that I need to hit, and not just typing it all out into a paper right away. That's so frustrating and doesn't keep you well organized, and you always end up missing something. So it's so much easier to do an outline first like this. So that's where I'm going to finish this video today. Make sure that you are checking these things out. I also have a figurative language game, which I'm going to say really, really quickly because I have 10 seconds left. Go to this link. It's a fun little old video game thing that'll help you practice figurative language. Alright, so have a good rest of your day. See you tomorrow.